Good evening, folks. Good evening. I've got my old hearing aids on underneath this headset. Uh, I don't hear as well with them, but they're a little bit more comfortable, and I had to wear the others quite a bit. Well, I did a Bible study, and I definitely wanted to pay attention and hear everything on that. Folks, we are in a real hard place. Everything's coming together nicely, especially in the Bible, in the scriptures. It is wild. It's a wild ride through the scriptures right now because so much of it is unfolding before our eyes. We're experiencing it. And it's really kind of a shame because it was there all along and we failed to read it and get the warning that it was trying to provide us with. It's not too late. Get a copy of my Bible. It's the best. It has verses that other Bibles are missing or they've actually altered. It doesn't have anything that's been made up, misinterpreted. So it doesn't support religiosity. It doesn't support the traditions of men. It's strictly the word as it was given to us. I have to tell you something. They're going to reduce us by 95%. They want to remove 95% of the world's population. They're intent upon doing that, and they're making a final push. And I know you folks out there want a savior, but I'm going to tell you this. You're not getting one. At least not in an earthly form. Not Trump the chump. Him and Joe Biden are both working to build up the central police state and the bankers for total control in a system of lockdown slavery that you wouldn't believe. So it doesn't matter which one becomes president, you're going to end up with whatever it is, digital ID. You're going to end up being tracked every which way. They're going to take control of you and put ideas in you, in your head. You won't be able to think at all for yourself. Not only that, but they're going to be able to approve of every purchase you make before you do it. And if you fail to keep your vaccines up to date, they'll cut your money off. They want that kind of control, and they're going to get it. According to Pope Gregory Mannarino, there's no stopping them. And in case you're wondering, it all goes to Switzerland. I know that wonderful neutral country up in the Rockies, up in the Alps, the crags and rocks up there. The Edomites are up there. Actually, they're the ones with the different brains, the different skulls than what we have. They're the ones that have been spoiling the rest of the planet for the rest of us, harming us terribly. And in case you're wondering, all roads lead to Switzerland. And Switzerland's going to have control over us down to the minutest detail if we let them do that. And I know a lot of you think that, well, it's going to be good to collapse this government. Well, that's what they want us to do. They want us to collapse our government so they can do a communist purge here. They don't want to merely take over. They want to kill most of us. So we have to actually get along with each other, including the incompatibles that they have strewn among us here in the country, which we should all just agree to take out the trash and get rid of their asses once and for all. We need to shut the borders down and do about a 20-year moratorium on any immigration until we figure out what we have in here. And we're going to have to get our industry going. You've got to remember this. The evil one would have sex with anybody and mix his seed with anyone. Mao Zedong was an Edomite. That's right. Edomites always have a proclivity to going to the seats of power. So if you look around the country and the guys look a little different than the others that are around them, most likely they got Edomite blood in them. Like Barack Obama. Edomite blood. Like our current, well, I guess he's alive. I don't know, Joe Biden, whoever it is in the office. Oh, and Trump the chump, Edomite. Look at Barron, Edomite. You need to understand, these guys are all working together behind the scenes. Their great work, if you bothered to listen to Trump's speech right after he won that election, is what they're all pulling together for. So even Hillary Clinton is working on their great work. They're all working together to reduce us to the worst behavior they can get out of us. It's almost as if Yahweh and Satan were friends, and they decided to have a bet between them to see which one could reduce them or make them, can Satan actually reduce them to the basest level instincts. They actually want that kind of violence. Do not kid yourself. Why do you think it's a spike protein? Why do you think it's related to curlew? Related to that disease that the cannibals get, the mad cow disease. Just another name for the same damn thing, or Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease. It's the same bullshit. They want that among the population so they can have the wildest war possible. Also, that's why they want women to fight. Why? Because women are merciless, they are bloodthirsty, and they're far more aggressive than men. And far more bloodthirsty. Extremely sadistic. Even the Israelis, when they drafted the women, they didn't like it because they couldn't control them as well. The women were out of control and they weren't following orders very well. They didn't like that. So, they've got us mixed up as much as they can. I swear to God, they found a new species of human being, and I'm seeing the same woman driving these late model cars all over the place. She cruises around at 55 miles an hour at the most, sometimes just 50, and drifts across lanes of traffic and acts like she doesn't even know where she is. And usually she's in a late model Lexus. They like to give them those SUVs and larger car because they're putting them out there to have bumper cars. They're putting them out there, purposely empowering them, even though they're not qualified and they never will be able to drive a car properly, so that they can cause trouble for the rest of us. And they'll give them a new car and let them keep driving. Oh, they don't have to take the driver's license test, and they give them those new cars. Yes, courtesy of your government, along with a big check. And they love it here because they get that free ride. They get treated better than you or I do. Better than the veterans do, better than the elderly do. They get treated like kings and queens over here. So I swear I see the same woman drifting across traffic, and I know somebody's going to hit her pretty hard someday. They're going to get hurt. And it looks like the same woman every time. So whatever it is, they all come from the same clan. Maybe they're all twins or something. I have no idea. But that's all I'm going to tell you. They brought the most incompatible types they could, who can never, ever fit in and be able to drive in our traffic. And they also bring in people that are prone to being conned, so they can be robbed, defrauded very easily. And these are simple-minded people that just want a better life, and they're just not compatible with our ways. They cannot defend themselves adequately from the predators among us. So the predator class is going to be growing because there's a bigger pool of fish to predate upon. Isn't that horrible? They bring those poor people in from these poor countries where they're used to paying 10 cents, 15 cents for a cup of coffee. They give them a check and a car and a driver's license without even a test, and they send them wherever they want. Where do you want to go in the country? We'll fly you there. We'll get you there. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And just imagine the trauma of arriving here and walking in to get a cup of coffee. And you pull into Starbucks and the guy says, that'll be $7, please. What? The barista said $7. I'm not even paying $1 back home for a cup of coffee. What do you mean it's $7? I don't need that fancy stuff on there. It costs too much. We know who the king of Babylon is. He's sitting over there in the British Islands. Been coronated pretty recently. Yep, the fat cat himself, the red dragon himself, right there. And we know who their main actors are. And we know that, according to Dwayne Middleton, before he aged out on us and vacated, because the son kind of drove him off with predating. The son was predating upon him. And he just wasn't in his right mind. But while he still was intact, Dwayne declared the Antichrist is Donald Trump. Dwayne gets some things very right. I don't agree with everything he says, but when I looked into what Catherine Austin Fitts had to say about this digital ID and how Trump is all for it, and how that locks us into the banking system. And by the way, they're not just going to lock us into the banking system with a universal basic income of $2,000 a month, no matter where we live. Yeah, try to live around here on $2,000 a month. You can't do it. They don't care. Everybody's going to be treated the same. Once they get us locked down, they're going to start weeding us out. If they can't get us locked down, they're going to take the power away from us. They're definitely going to they're going to put parasites in our food so that we'll be dying from more cancers and more diseases rather quickly. So they're going to use their genocide machine, their medical, military, industrial complex to kill us off softly, quietly, because we'll believe those guys in the white lab coats to pretend they're God and get paid so much. Those lying son of a bitch and sociopaths that are going right along with the genocidal program. And we're not going to any gold standard. As much as the BRIC nations look like they're going to go for gold, that's not what they're going to do. They've actually worked directly with the Bank of International Settlements, and they're going to plug right into the slave system. So, don't expect Russia. Don't expect China. Don't expect Iran. Don't expect Gaddafi. Don't expect Saddam Hussein. Don't expect any nation to start a gold standard. They just won't do it. Because they know the moment they do that, we're going to bomb the shit out of them. Because we are the enforcers for the bankers over in the city of London, the Crown Corporation, for the Rothschilds. So if they're going to try to break out of the central banking system, we bomb them. We bomb them to smithereens. We love them that much. We help them that much. We're going to bring in democracy and regime change, whether they want it or not. And of course, here's Lindsey Graham. Finally, that butt ugly son of a bitch needs to go away. He is the poster child for repealing the 17th Amendment. Which reminds me, we go to the 13th Amendment, the original, and all the other amendments are null and void. And we turn back all case law built on those errant amendments. That's the Great Reset for us, if we're going to survive and we're actually going to become America for change and stop being subjugated by the frickin' British Crown. Even Lyndon LaRouche had that right. He identified the British Crown as our biggest problem, our biggest enemy. Actually, they've made themselves the enemy of the world. Remember, they aren't British. They're Edomites. Mao Zedong was Edomite. Him and Henry Kissinger had a lot in common when they met because they're both Edomites, baby. That's right, both stock. That's stock. Most of your presidents have been Edomites. Certainly Abraham Lincoln was Edomite. Certainly Trump was Edomite, and you want to put him back in office again. He wasn't that good. And the stuff he's talking about doing, the death knell for the country. And you're eager to hand it to him. The lesser of two evils? No, actually, he's probably worse than Biden. At least with Biden, he gets locked up in a little bit of challenge. The best state is Tennessee. Tennessee made it illegal to do any aerial spraying. Geoengineering. They made it illegal to do that in the state of Tennessee. Boy, talk about a legislature that's waking up properly. My hat's off to them. They've also got a few other things going on in Tennessee. They're waking up slowly. But you have to get rid of these corporate state governments and go back to an organic state government. Then you have full power. And you have to have a militia. And the militia's not about guns. It's actually more about marching. It's more about discipline. And it's more about marching. Why marching? Because when it comes time to vacate parts of this country, and you got no electricity, and there's no fuel, there's no vehicles running, how are you going to do it? You better have good foot gear, and you better know how to march, and you better know how to hit a cadence, because you're going to have to do some miles. The British have done this to their subjects all over the world when they free them, like they did to India when they freed the Sikhs up. They split the Sikhs up into Pakistan and India because they didn't want the Sikhs to have their own country because it'd be too powerful and they'd be able to challenge the British. It's just like what happened with the Hopi Indians and the Navajos. The Hopis had the powerful prophecies, and to keep them encircled and corralled, they put them in the middle of the Navajo, and the Navajo don't like the Hopis' practices, and the Hopi don't like the Navajos' practices. My God, Hopis play with snakes, and they keep pet eagles, and the Navajo hate that they do that to the eagles, and I don't like it either. Mr. Henderson has written some marvelous books. He has become the voice of Crazy Horse. And he's telling us about ourselves and about the world in major ways. And I have to applaud him in his books and his writing. I highly recommend them. I have two of them. I'm halfway through one, the latest one. Got the one on 5G with the Queen on the cover of it. And I want to get the one on the oil fields, the oil companies. I don't agree with his Democratic Party stuff, but I agree with them that they have separated us purposely so that we can't go after them. So you and I have to figure out how to join together. I'm going to tell you how we do it. We revert to the great American reset. We stop calling ourselves United States citizens because it's illegal and it ain't right. We call ourselves citizens of our states, which makes us Americans. And we have to go back to landed laws, the Constitution, landed jurisdiction instead of this maritime admiralty law that they got their bar association tying us up in pretzels over. They destroy the country probably more than anything else. The only thing is they don't kill us directly, they just rob us to death. I have a friend who had $500,000 coming to her. By the time it was all done, the invoice read that she only had $28,000 coming. The attorneys took it all. What do you think of that? She's so distraught she won't contact me, and there's a way to take care of that. But I'm afraid that I'll never hear from her again, but that's okay. If she's going to disrespect me, and she's not going to stay in touch with me, that's up to her. I'm not going to chase her down. She's started to actually come around to being a human being, and then this happens. I understand this woundedness, but she got a windfall of a heck of a nice check. It was enough to set herself up to get ready for the next chapter. Man, because the next chapter, she was going to be able to clean those attorneys' clocks really good, and the judge as well. They're all in cahoots together. They operate in violation of the original 13th Amendment, which is the law of the land. Don't be hoodwinked. British Accreditation Regency, who rules in place of their king right now. For most of my life, we had a queen, and I didn't even know she was our queen. Now, you need to understand something. Those are Edomites. There are Edomites at the heads of every government, and there's Edomite handlers around to keep them in line. And the Pope has got 2 Swiss bodyguards, no less. And I saw him with the Swiss bodyguards. And I said to myself, those guys with those lances aren't there to protect him. They're there to execute him if he gets out of line. That's right. You see, the Pope's not in charge, and his boss is across the street, the Black Pope. That's his boss. And their boss, why, Satan. The most powerful man in the world is the Jesuit general, the Black Pope. I have some problems. My hearing is doing a little bit better. It's late in the day, so I'm getting tired, and the noise is getting louder. So I'm going to call this pretty short here pretty soon. Give myself a break from these hearing aids. My hearing has improved a little bit. It looks like I'm not going to be totally stone deaf in the right ear, but I don't know if I'm going to get it back to where it was. And it's just barely intelligible with the hearing aids. The noise of the motors and engines around me, the fans and all that, even the noise and the crunching of my own feet and the gravel, the birds singing and all that. Some of that stuff gets really kind of loud and awkward because it's like tunnel hearing, tunnel vision. It goes right into my head. I can't tell from where it is, and it sort of panics me because sometimes the stuff sounds like it's right there in my ear. So my hearing is shifting and changing, and they've already adjusted my hearing aids. That was 2 days ago, and then yesterday morning I get up and it was yesterday. This morning I get up and my hearing is even more acute yet. It doesn't sound balanced. Now there's too much treble. So for some reason I've lost the fundamentals. I guess God, Yahweh's trying to tell me something. John, you lost the fundamentals. You can't hear the fundamentals. All you got are the harmonics. As beautiful as they are, you got to have the fundamentals. It's probably a sign. Get the fundamentals down. I can't wait to get my life in a little bit more order, and I can go to a nice peaceful place where it's nice and mild weather, so I can sit and read my Bible marathon style. Because these Bible lessons have been opening my eyes up, but in no way can I actually cover this stuff at all. It's overwhelming. So I need to spend time in the Word myself. I need to power myself through it. Wish I could read through it a couple, 3 times right now, but it takes me a year and a half to do a read through. Please pray regarding my language. It ain't too bad. I don't want to sound too highfalutin. I've had the wind taken out of my sails again. I've had the wind knocked out of my sails before, and the recovery was kind of rough. I read the Bible to recover. I think Yahweh is trying to get my attention. I have a lot of needs. I don't know if I have enough to take care of it. Yet Yahweh says, buy what you need. I got you covered. And of course, I'm sitting there thinking, that's a nice message. I'm sure everybody wants to hear you can spend what you need, that you covered. So what do? Ignore it and insult Yahweh? Or do I go overboard and take what I don't need? So that's the problem. It's okay for me to buy what I need. Deciding what I need is the hard thing right now. I want the Ferrari gray color because I guess it's not a sin to show up driving to church in a gray Ferrari. Red Ferrari would be a sin. Yeah, the guy from Texas, he's got that gray Ferrari in that big stadium of a church. Joel Osteen, Billy Joel Osteen. Man, listen to his voice. It's so sweet as sugar. Everything is wonderful and peaceful. You're all right. Everything's going to be just fine. Just fine. You don't have to worry about anything. It's like heroin, man. Vocal, auditory heroin. Drugs. I listened to that son of a bitch for 2 days straight on, at the time I had a high-end car with high definition satellite radio, and I listened to him for 2 days straight. And at the end of 2 days, man, I never wanted to hear his voice again. He was making me sick. It was like having been on a diet of straight sugar or saccharin or something, man. It just was horrible. Pray for me and that I can do Yahweh's will. Yeah, I'm having trouble with salvation, by the way. I can't figure out. I'm not sure who the Savior is. I know it sounds weird, doesn't it? It sounds really weird to admit it. So, most people tell me Jesus saves. Quite a few people say Yeshua is the Savior. Okay. But then Yeshua himself says that he doesn't do it. He points us to his Father Yahweh. And then, in Bible study, the current teacher says, well, Yeshua's not the Savior. Yahweh's the Savior. But Yeshua's the way. So it gets kind of confusing. And I know doggone well that Yahweh became a man and came to the earth. Was that not Yeshua? These are mysteries. I don't mind having some mysteries because I figure out too much other stuff and it bothers me. And I'm not able to take advantage of things very well and rack up the gold or any of that stuff. Get your money for nothing and your chicks for free. Yeah, right. How do I keep the women at bay? I don't show them my home, my house, because they think they're going to take half of this from me. Oh no, baby, you aren't even going to get into it. And this is all I can afford. This is it. They think if I can afford this, I can afford whatever it is they want me to afford for them. No, can't do it. Could I generate more? I could. Especially if I had somebody to help me. But that would be a real helpmate. And most women don't want to do that. They just want to dominate. They want to get paid off and want to be free and separate to go do their stuff with other men. So, what can one say? It ain't safe. And I guess if Yahweh wanted me to have a wife, he'd have issued me one. The problem is that all the ones I run into these days, according to some of my friends, they're too young for me. But then according to me, most of them are too old for me. Most of them have already made terrible life decisions and bad mistakes, and they're not going to recover from it. The average woman, age 24 and above, has already chosen her fate. It's her future is cast in stone. She's not going to be able to change it unless she really Well, there's a few ways to change. But what I'm getting at is that it's much worse than what the ladies think. And everything happens faster. And just because you're so beautiful and so well empowered out the chute doesn't mean you get to keep that. As a matter of fact, but if you're not married by the age 23, that's probably it. It's not going to happen for you. And most men today don't want to get married because the government gets involved. And the government marries your wife and bullies you. Whatever she says is taken as a gospel truth, and she's believed, and they'll put your ass in prison based upon her word. They won't give a man a reasonable chance. None at all. I've gotten a few things done today. I've got a lot more to do tomorrow. I want to relax some. So forgive me while I take the cans off and the hearing aids out of my ears and just relax. And I think I'm going to read. I'll probably spend time in the Psalms because it's very calming. This other stuff, my analytical mind after this Bible study is like really on fire, and I don't need to heat up anymore. I need to cool down. So may Yahweh bless you, and realize we have this trap in front of us. Doesn't matter which one ends up being president, we're still going to be in a slavery system. And if we throw their yoke off, they'll probably pull the power and they'll go after us pretty directly. But I don't see any other way to do it. I think we might as well face the fears. They're going to threaten nukes on us. They're going to threaten us with all kinds of war and stuff. They're going to threaten us with famine. But the thing is that if we get on it right now this year, they can't stop us from recovering our country. And if we wait till next year, it gets harder. We've already waited too long. If we're going to recover the republic, we have to do it fast, and it has to be decisive. And we can do it maybe without firing a shot, but the other side will make sure that the shooting happens. So I say be prepared to defend. Form up your militias. Do your marching. Yes, it doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be enough so you know what the orders, the commands are, and the leaders know how to lead, and the followers know how to follow. Why? Because you are depending upon each other to get yourself and your family to safety. May Yahweh bless and hold you close.